let's move it over to the NFL. The AFC Championship game is set, and the NFC Championship game is set. Joe, let's start with the NFC game. The second game next Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Matthew Stafford and the Rams survived an overtime struggle against the Chicago Bears when Seattle absolutely detonated the 49ers at home. 2.5s across the board as a favorite for Seattle, and a total of 47.5. We'll preview this game all week long, Joe, but give me a Monday spread line for this Rams-Seahawks game.
Well, we were on last night in-game live covering the Rams and Bears game, and as soon as that game was over, we wanted to know exactly where that line was going to open up, and it was 1.5 initially, Donnie, for I would say about 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden, the money started rolling in. Now we're seeing threes in some spots here. So it has been a steady stream of Seattle money coming in right now. We did see a little over money as well, which, I guess tends to make sense when you think of the Rams. You're going to think of points here, much like that game last night closed at 49.5, almost 50, in fact, and they weren't even close. But we're seeing a lot of Seattle and a lot of over money so far early this week. And when the limits open up midweek, Donnie, we'll have a better idea of where this thing is going to land.
AFC game, a lot of movement already in this one, Joe. New England's going to take on the Denver Broncos. 1 versus 2, but also a wounded number 1 team. We told you Bo Nix going to be out for the rest of the season here with a broken bone in his ankle. Jarrett Stidham now the starter, and we're seeing 5.5s across the board as the road team favorite, New England Patriots, with a total of 40.5 points, Joe. This line's going to be changing all throughout the week as well. It's Stidham's time. What is a spread line for you, Patriots Broncos?
Well, this is no man's land. Like 5.5 is the books telling you. Like, we'll wait to see whether or not the market is going to push it up closer to 7, or will it come back down, Donnie, and get a little bit closer to maybe 3.5 or 4. It was 4.5 initially once New England won that game yesterday against Houston. But of course, we already knew the Stidham news and the Bo Nix situation, so it was only a matter of time to figure out when's that Patriot money coming in. So we saw it get to 6 in 1 or 2 spots, but for the most part, 5.5, not a ton of movement on the total here, Donnie, at all. But it's clear that it feels like the public is running to the window because of the Stidham news, backing New England. There's a lot of money on the sidelines here waiting to figure out, how far does this get? Do we get to a touchdown? Are we going up to 6.5? Going to be interesting to see where this line moves as the week progresses.
2 of the best young quarterbacks in the league were supposed to square up in the AFC Championship game. It's a shame, as we said again. We'll preview this game all week long with the Denver Broncos now going with a backup quarterback in their biggest game. It's kind of a shame, but hey, it's just the way it is. Tomorrow's a Tuesday. We should call it Turnover Tuesday because of how many turnovers we actually saw over the weekend in high-level football, what we thought in the divisional round. 2 games Saturday, 2 games Sunday. Now we only have 2 games left next Sunday before 1 game left, which would be the Super Bowl. Down the right side, Joe Raniero. Let's bring in Tom Vecchio. It wasn't even a wild card weekend, but it was a division round weekend that saw a lot of scoring, a lot of crazy opportunities, a ton of turnovers, and some questionable calls from the refs, Tommy.
Yeah, we got a little bit of everything. Good calls, missed calls, good games, bad games, lack of scoring. Really comes down to, you just got to show up when it matters most. It doesn't matter if you're starting off the wild card, you have home field advantage, you have a great quarterback, you have no quarterback at this point for some teams, but I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, what's crazy, Tom? You take a look at this Seattle game, right? 41-6. I had a tough time looking at that game to myself and say, how am I going to take a lot of props for Seattle? Because I just don't understand what I'm getting out of the quarterback. So now you say to yourself, Bills-Broncos ends 33-30. Bo Nix moving on, going to take on Drake May. And a post-game press conference that Joe and I were just looking at, where you have the coach, Sean Payton, come to the podium like, hey, guys, just want to let you know right away, broken ankle for Bo Nix, he's out. How do we make of the Broncos moving forward if there's value, or have you actually taken a look next week and saying, how can I play the Broncos in certain situations?
Immediately, my mind goes to the game staying under, right? If the Broncos win that game, the game has to stay under. I think the Pats can win if the game goes over. The Pats can win if the game goes under, but the Broncos can't win if the game goes over. They have to keep this game close to the vest, and it's really just going to come down to their defense. It's going to come down to the running game, and it's going to come down to not having Jarrett Stidham in obvious passing situations where they want to keep it within one score, and they have to keep it close to the vest because needing him to drop back 35 times is not what they want.
Yeah.
No, they don't. But again, it's got Denver has won all year, right, Tom? With the fact of they've got to play defense, they got to run the ball, they got to get turned. That defense they looked gassed against Buffalo, which is crazy given the fact that they were the home team. But I think the formula for the Broncos remains the same, right? Like you got to play shutdown defense. You got a very young quarterback on the other side. So you've got to give you the opportunity for Stidham in the offense to be able to get some short fields, and you got to hold up, right? I don't know that it's that over the top, right?
No, it's not. And really, I think the Denver defense, I think them giving up points last week was almost just a product of the game environment rather than them taking a massive step back and them regressing to some middle-of-the-road defense, which I don't think they are. So, yeah, I think the defense needs to be opportunistic. I will say, what we saw from Drake May and the offensive line, specifically from the Pats over the past 2 weeks of him taking multiple sacks, multiple fumbles against both the Chargers and the Texans, that bodes well for the Denver defense. Like, if they can get after him and cause him to make those mistakes and those turnovers, it will give them short fields and it will put Denver in a good spot.
Yeah, what a wild game it was, too. The New England Patriots, Houston Texans, that final 28-16, a cover by the New England Patriots here. You take a look at that game sneaking over the total. C.J. Stroud threw 47 times in that game, and I swear for most of the first half, Tom, he was trying to throw interceptions on purpose, like he just didn't feel like being there and get me off of the field. You talk about Houston. They ran the ball 22 times for only 48 yards. Woody Marks, 14 carries, 17 yards, completely inefficient in that game. Fumbles all over the place. I wasn't impressed with New England, but they did win that football game. That's what counts. And now it seems like we don't have to worry about a quarterback. You talk about the schedule in the regular season for the Patriots. Wasn't that tough? Now an AFC Championship game, you're getting a true young, well, not really young, but a backup quarterback without a lot of seasoning.
Yeah, and it comes down to, how Denver moves the ball on offense and what their game plan is. And I think we'll get some indication throughout the week from Sean Payton about what they expect to do or what they want to do. My mind immediately goes to saying, man, what if they had J.K. Dobbins? If he was healthy, what would this offense look like? They would actually, I think, have a better shot at taking down the Pats, knowing that they can lean on both Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. I expect this to be a big R.J. Harvey week. I expect it has to be a little bit of Cortland Sutton. It has to be some Evan Ingram. It has to be everyone just doing a little bit in order to help out Stidham, and it can't just be relying on one or two players.
A lot of frequent flyer miles for the Rams this postseason here, Tom. And now they got to travel again to Seattle. And what do we do now? It looks like it's locked into 3. We talked right after the game. We saw 1.5s, maybe 2.5s, but it looks like a field goal favorite is what the Seahawks will be. Another high total, though, interestingly enough.
Yeah, 2.5. I think that feels right. There's so much to say about home field advantage in the NFL, which is certainly lessened as the years have gone on. But Seattle's certainly one of those places that still does have decent home field advantage. The Seahawks put up one of the best defensive seasons, at least according to DVOA numbers, really in the past 30, 40 years. They are one of the top 12 when you look at those numbers. I still don't trust Sam Darnold. I just don't know how else to put it, but I just don't trust Sam Darnold. Stafford is the better quarterback. We all know that. I think the coaching is relatively close, maybe in the favor of McVay. I think the total is a little bit high. I will say I'm waiting to play it. I want to see if it moves to 48, but I would certainly play under at that point. And, the Rams, they were the better team compared to Chicago by far. If you look at any of the offensive metrics for the Rams combined with the defensive numbers from the Bears were terrible on defense. They gave up 1 billion yards, and then they somehow caused turnovers and didn't allow teams to score throughout the season. That wasn't sustainable, and that came crashing down last week. That really can't be said about Seattle. We know how good their defense is. I like the Rams, and I think getting them at +3 if you're willing to wait would be a good spot.
Here's the tough part, too, because early in the week, I do lean more towards Seattle if that game is going to stay, let's just say 2.5, because just in the NFL, you hear the regular season, we can't really give these teams 3 straight road games because it's ridiculous. And also, This isn't 3 straight road games. You can play the Giants, you're going to play Washington, then play the Buffalo Bills. You went to Carolina, snuck out of there with a win, flew back to L.A., flew to Chicago, and also product of the environment. a freezing cold temperature game, overtime game on the road, high leverage situation. You win, you celebrate, you fly back home. Seattle just had a cupcake game in their previous game, obviously going up against the 49ers. I think that does weigh into it, but you're not wrong, Tom. If you're just looking at quarterbacks in a big moment that you trust more, when you watch the game play out and win or lose, you're going to say to yourself, boy, I'm shocked that Matthew Stafford played that bad if they lost that game. You know what you wouldn't be shocked at, Tom? Man, Darnold looks like he's terrible in this game. What happened?
Right. I mean, he had, 3-4 interceptions in the game they played in week 13, 14. And Seattle almost won that game. So if they can remedy some of those things, Seattle will be in it. But I still think the offensive upside lies with the Rams. Outside of JSN, I'm still not convinced on the Seattle offense.
Big weekend coming up. AFC Championship game, NFC Championship game. We'll certainly be talking there with Tom. Thanks for rising and grinding with us on an Armchair Quarterback Monday. We'll be back in this game. It's the Miami Hurricanes taking on the Indiana Hoosiers. In the NFL, we got 2 games left before we get to the Super Bowl. That's the AFC Championship and the NFC Championship. And when you win those football games, I guess outside of Denver, you're really excited to move on to the AFC and NFC Championship games. But the losers, sometimes it's just a long way home. And everybody knows when you get to an airport to start your vacation and it's a little bit delayed, you can deal with it because they're still excited. Oh, I hope the delay is not too long. Can't wait to get to my tropical destination or Disney World or Disneyland or wherever you're going. But when you're coming home from vacation or a game that you lost, Joe, the last thing you want is a long travel delay. And that's what the Texans are getting. Currently, they're still in the air. So wait a second. That game didn't just finish. That was yesterday. What's happening? Bad weather, delays in the Boston area. The Texans haven't even gotten home yet. That's got to hurt, Joe. We don't like travel delays when we're coming home from devastating losses.
Oh, that's even worse. I mean, that went from bad to worse in a heartbeat there, and that's unfortunate. But and the good news is that don't worry about it. You'll be home soon enough, and you'll be able to get that tea time, Texans, because your season is over. Yes.
By the way, when you fly back to Houston, it ain't that long a trip to Cancun, so it's not too bad. Like, I got to go to Milwaukee to Cancun. Exactly. I got to go to New York City to Cancun. You're right there, man. You just drive down there and have some fun. Maybe go to Galveston, as Charles Barkley would say, in that dirty water down in Galveston. So there you go in a way. But let's focus, Joe. This weekend's games. 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern, that's going to be the AFC. It's New England and Denver. 6:30 p.m., that's going to be the NFC. It's the Rams and the Seahawks. These lines are going to be changing all week long. And also, as Joe pointed out, some changes already in that Rams-Seattle game. But let's start with New England and Denver. The one thing we do know is Jarrett Stidham will be the starting quarterback this week, not Bo Nix, a broken bone in Nix's ankle on the second to last play of the game in overtime. Does his season in, and that is a shame. But now we see New England, Joe, a 5.5-point favorite and an ultra-low total that sits at 40.5 points.
Yeah, and I again, it's way early in the week, but 5.5 is usually, no man's land when it comes to the books, Donnie, because there's no key numbers involved there. In fact, it's smack in the middle of 3 and 7, and that's basically the books waiting for the market to determine which way this goes. Now, I think, given what we know here and the news about Stidham, that I think the book is expecting the public to come in and automatically bet New England and New England a lot. I think the pros are sitting back here, Donnie, right now, waiting to see how high this number will go before they come back in. Because the bottom line is we're still dealing with a very young quarterback here in Drake May. We're talking about a New England team, for better or for worse, who was completely overperformed this year. And could this be the game, even with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback on the road with a trip to the Super Bowl? Could this be where the cracks start to come in? Because mind you, it wasn't like Drake May was perfect in that game at home against that defense. This number could get to a point, Donnie, where all the value is on backing Stidham in Denver.
How about this one, Joe? Let's bring up a graphic here of the quarterback, the old man in the sea. Like Matthew Stafford's been around the block. He might win the MVP this year, but he has a Super Bowl championship. Career playoff passing yards for the remaining quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford's thrown 3,500 plus passing yards in the playoffs in his career. Drake May, 447. Sam Darnold, 369. Jarrett Stidham, 0 advantage. Rams?
Yeah, well, by the way, to be fair, I mean, there are 2 people that completed a pass this season for Denver. One of them was Bo Nix. The other was R.J. Harvey. No Jarrett Stidham completing a pass this season, much less in the postseason. So, yeah, I mean, listen, this is Stafford's the old man on the hill, right? He's the old guy. He's the old dog, been here and done this. But isn't that the theme this season, Donnie, where we're at right now? All the experience, there's no experience. Stafford is it. The Rams are it. There is nobody else here that could play for a world championship that can say, yeah, we've been here before. We've done this. We know what's going on. There is no Mahomes. There is no, there is no Lamar Jacksons. There's no Josh Allens. There's no Joe. There's nobody here except for Matt Stafford.
By the way, Bo Nix is a young quarterback in the NFL. Now, granted, started last year, but this year, no surprise that each and every game, it's 35-plus passing attempts every game, well into the 40s a lot of times, and with a lot of accuracy. Question's going to be is, I don't think the game plan is going to change all that much, but also, I do think that ground game is going to have to be reincorporated because so much was run through Bo Nix, and rightfully so. Kid was a damn good quarterback. But now you look at the passing props, 185.5 from Stidham. He's going to have to operate that offense because New England does have a pretty good offense themselves. But at the same time, Joe, how do you play Stidham this week? Is it more of, well, hey, Bo Nix throws the ball 40 times a game. We're not going to change anything. We trust Stidham because this is a quarterback that Sean Payton has liked throughout his career. This isn't one of those guys like, hey, it's Brosmer is going to start this weekend. He might not have a lot of seasoning, but he's been in systems for a long enough time in the NFL where it shouldn't be too big of a moment, but it's hard to try to get behind these type of quarterbacks, Joe, early in the week.
No, you've got to believe in the system like we saw Mac Jones do for the 49ers this year, and you've got to believe in the coach. You've got to have – there are some coaches, if this was to happen to, Donnie, I'd be like, oh, absolutely not. But Sean Payton made the decision to stick with Stidham here for a reason. So if the coaching staff has done their job, listen – good backup quarterbacks can get you a win or two, right? Everyone else is going to have to step up their game. And listen, New England is not like they can go in there and turn the ball over 3 times, Donnie, and think they're going to walk away with a win. So this is a totally different animal for the Patriots as well.
Taking a look at the Rams and the Seattle Seahawks, Joe. Those opening lines, 1.5 to 2.5. Now I'm just seeing right now, BetMGM here in New Jersey, Joe. They just flashed a 3 at a -102 price. 2.5s across the board. I do think once you get this game settled in, it's going to be all week long, bouncing between 2.5 and 3. I can't see the 3.5s, and I don't know if it would say like enough money comes in on the Rams to make them favorites, unless you get bad practice reports this week on from Sam Darnold in a total of 47.5. How are we looking early in the week for this one, Joe? Rams, Seattle Seahawks.
Well, I mean, listen, we saw this game, right, twice already this year. One was a crazy one, right, in overtime, 38-37 in Week 16 on Thursday Night Football. That spread 1.5 to 2.5. The total, ironically, 42 to 42.5. And then the Rams won 21-19 in Week 11. They were a 3.5-point favorite. Something's got to give you.
Good stuff. AFC Championship game, NFC Championship game this weekend. We'll be right back.